welcome to Policy and Politics with me, Tarun Nangia. For all these years, our understanding of money was that it is issued by a sovereign. It is the government that issues money. But since 2008, this has been changing. There was a talk of cryptocurrency, and we did not realize that over 45,000 crores is the amount Indians have invested in cryptocurrencies. There may be as many as 2.5 crore Indians, most of them young, putting their hard-earned savings in this currency. The Prime Minister of India, Narendra Modi, issued a statement yesterday saying that there are dangers like money laundering, terror financing, and many other things for which democracies of the world should come together. This, we should know whether it should be in the form of regulation. What will it lead to? What was our Prime Minister intending to convey to all the youngsters of India? Because primarily we must understand it is the young that are putting their money in this asset with aims of getting higher and higher returns. And what is the risk when you, in a sense, invest in an asset class not backed by a sovereign? There is no bank system here, and there are no ATMs so far. We don't know what is this going to lead to. We have a very eminent panel to discuss this issue. I have with me Mr. Rajneesh Kumar. As we all know, sir has served as the chief of the largest bank of India and one of the largest banks of the world, namely the State Bank of India. We also know that recently he penned a memoir on his tenure at the bank. Our best wishes to him on his new book. And also we look forward to great insights on the issue of cryptocurrency from his side. I have with me Gopal Krishna Agarwal. He's a familiar face on policy and politics and the chief economic spokesperson of the Bharatiya Janata Party. We have with us Vaibhav Kakkad. He is the head of regulatory affairs at Saraf and Partners, one of India's largest law firms. I have with me Advocate Gagan Kumar. He has a deep knowledge of finance and law both, and he runs a firm called Krishnomics Legal. Let us start the opening comment with Mr. Rajneesh Kumar laying the ground of this discussion on the basis of what the Prime Minister said.
First of all, let me say that it is a very timely warning by the Honorable Prime Minister, because as far as crypto is concerned, I can say there is a lot of confusion, and the confusion is not only in India, but the confusion across the globe. One is around its definition. What is this animal? So it's very difficult to understand, and the judiciary world over, and even in our country, the governments, everyone is struggling, in fact, to define it, whether it is a currency or whether it is an asset or whether it is a commodity. And once you try to define it, then all the attendant issues relating to the treatment in terms of how do we treat it from the taxation purposes, how do we regulate it. So one or two comments before we further go into this discussion is that crypto is not within the boundaries of any nation. It is a digital asset, internet-based. So that's why there cannot be any nationality attached to it. If there cannot be a nationality attached to it, then the questions around, say, FEMA violation or an Exchange Management Act, it doesn't arise, or how do we define it? Then about how do we tax it? And my view is that crypto cannot and should not be a currency. It can be a digital asset. And if we leave it unregulated, it will bring more problems. People are aware about its dark side also, but so is the case with the internet. There is a dark side to the web or the internet. So leaving it unregulated or just because we don't understand the problem and then not do nothing about it. So that is also not a happy situation. Anything, if you declare it illegal, it gives rise to illegal activity. I'll just take a small example. Betting is illegal in India, but does it happen or not happen in India? So better to put a framework and protect the investors and have clarity around the treatment. What it will do is, one, if we have a law, and which is hopefully India, I think, is taking a more pragmatic approach, that not declaring as illegal, but trying to put a framework. And that framework would have to cover all the issues around whether it is an asset, it is a commodity, it is a currency, but asset, treating it as a digital asset fits the best description. And then all the laws around its regulation and taxation can be legislated and regulated. And the investor protection, what the Prime Minister spoke about, it is very important to protect the investors. Currently, there is no protection available. And the people are going crazy about it. I don't think there is any conversation which you join and the discussion doesn't come to crypto.
Okay. Point very well taken. A very good set of points made by Mr. Rajneesh Kumar. I'll go to Mr. Gopal Krishna Agarwal. Taking cue from what Mr. Rajneesh Kumar said on the basis of what our Prime Minister said, where are we heading as far as cryptocurrency is considered in your view?
One thing I would like to just mention here is, I agree to many parts of Rajneesh Kumarji, what he has put up as an overall view on it. And the government is also of a thought that it will not be banned. I think FM has also clarified it. And the Supreme Court and RBI also want it to be regulated. And if you look into the event, RBI did try to ban it, but the Supreme Court said unless you come out with a legislation, you cannot ban anything. So regulation, everybody wants that the cryptocurrency ecosystem should be regulated. Government also want to regulate it. And there is no question of completely banning it, because already it is the thing which is globally being accepted, and India being one of the leaders in fintech and digital payment ecosystem, etc. So this is also a part of that fintech ecosystem only, and it is using more and more blockchain technology, which the Prime Minister also want India to further develop its capabilities, and we want to lead the global world on the fintech issue. So one thing, nobody wants it to be banned. Everybody wants it to be regulated. That needs a legislation. So these things are clear. Only thing which has some kind of confusion or debate, where I also would like to say something which may slightly be counter to Rajneesh Kumarji, is that if you only keep it as an asset class and treat it as an asset class, then it becomes highly speculative measure, and government cannot control it in its because current scenario in the where Indian business ecosystem is that you cannot control anything as a price, and there will be huge speculation in this segment. The best thing is to bring out KYC and other thing and make people aware that I think there is no underlying asset value into the whole cryptocurrency. So any value, if anybody attaches to it, it will only create speculative values, and it will not have a intrinsic underlying asset value. So these kind of instruments only breeds speculations. Therefore, I think slowly government would like to move towards more and more to use how it can be used as for its transactional values. Because if it is a currency, only thing is the central bank has many concerns. Those concerns revolves around the audit trail, or because there is no center entity for clearing of these kind of transactions if it takes under the cryptocurrency. And for that, new technology will definitely come under the blockchain. The government has set up a blockchain strategic group to develop this thing, and I think it is matter of time when you can establish an audit trail. Once you can establish an audit trail of these kind of transactions, you can regulate. But if you put strong KYC norm, regulate exchanges, how taxation policies are clear, anybody who is trying to invest into it, at least you can control that whole mechanism, and you can also protect a small investor. Unless the basic aim of every government is to protect unaware small investors, because large investors, etc., if they are doing anything, they have to look into their risk and return assessment. But it is the small investor which many times get carried away. So this is my initial take on this cryptocurrency and vis-a-vis digital currency. Some people are confusing it to the form of digital currency, though it is a digital currency where India wants to progress a lot. Prime Minister, RBI, everybody is, banks, everybody is promoting it. But the difference is clearing, no central entity which is there to clear this, and therefore RBI has a concern that we will not be able to control illegal money or terrorist money getting into the whole system.
A very good point made by Mr. Gopal Agarwal, but the main point was with relation to regulating this asset class so that it can be used by people. But the threat of FEMA violations that Mr. Rajneesh Kumar said and money laundering also remains. I'll go to Advocate Gavan Kumar at this juncture. You see, Tamil Nadu and Maharashtra a few years ago allowed cryptocurrency, in a sense, blockchain technology was used. Where do you think we are heading as far as this currency is concerned in India? Or do you feel that there is indeed a real threat when there is no sovereign backing a currency, there is no government behind a currency?
At the very outset, one need to understand that what is it making this phenomena, which is being referred as cryptocurrency, making it so popular? And secondly, how does it work? Now, the way it has given return on investment, which have been phenomenal. I have seen cases, young kids of 24, 25 years making a profit of 1 crore on an investment of 50,000. So that is what made it popular, that easy money. Now, there's no need to go into the moral sermon, but what we need to understand it, how does it work? And can it be actually called a currency? As you rightly pointed out, that there is no sovereign backing. So the way, in my limited knowledge of technology, the way it works is, it's based on blockchain technology, which essentially means that it cannot be altered or tampered with. And it's a peer-to-peer transfer. So no bank is involved. If I have to pay something to you by way of Bitcoin or any cryptocurrency, it would come to you without any intervention of any bank. So unlike a foreign remittance where bank has to approve, there are certain norms which have to be adhered to. So it's a free transfer. Now, what determines the value of these currencies or the so-called currency is the demand and supply. Now, what the government is worried about, and rightly so, if you look at the Hawala trade, the way it happens, a slip is given in one jurisdiction, it is encashed in another jurisdiction. So there is no trail. One cannot really control it. Be it the case of terror funding, be it the case of money laundering, and worst part, currently there is a rough estimate that about 10,000 crore rupees in India has been invested into this currency. God forbid if some money is hacked, what happens to the losses, which would be insurmountable. So because of these reasons, and government did form up a committee in 2017, interministerial committee, to look into this issue, which gave its report in 2019. And the recommendation was to ban it, which RBI followed, but the Supreme Court set aside that notification on the principle of proportionality. Rightly so, that yes, the measure was disproportionate, and currently there are no regulations. And it's becoming like a monster which we really don't know how to tame. On the one side, there is interest of the people who want to make money. There's nothing wrong in it. On the other side, the possible misdeeds which can be carried out. So the government has yet to figure out how to balance that. And coming to the issue of those two states, that's another issue. Whether it is a convertible instrument because there's no sovereign guarantee, ultimately it has to be converted into a currency to get the money. So whether it is an instrument, would it be subject to stamp duty? If yes, would it be subject to state government's laws? Would it be subject to GST? What kind of transaction it would be? Those clarities are yet to be framed, and the regulations have to be framed around that.
Okay, point well taken. I'll go across to Mr. Vaibhav Kakkad. He's head of regulatory affairs at Saraf and Partners. Now, and when anything is regulated, the role of law firms comes into play. You have to adhere to many compliances. Do you think we are heading to that route where there will be a bill presented in Parliament and there will be certain regulations which all these cryptocurrencies would have to comply, and then of course things become easier? Do you think we are going down that route as far as cryptocurrencies are concerned?
Thanks, Tarun, for having me over. At the very outset, completely agree with some of the views shared by the other learned panelists here. I think we just need to take a step back here. If you actually look at the Supreme Court judgment which struck down the RBI circular that banned regulated entities to deal with crypto and other similar currencies, if you look at the details of that judgment, it would reveal that while RBI may have lost that particular battle, it actually won the war. Because what the Supreme Court ended up, and Justice Nariman's judgment ended up sort of articulating very clearly, is RBI as the central bank of this country has immense amount of powers under the RBI Act, as well as under the Banking Regulation Act, to regulate currency. What they felt was that in that instance, that circular was disproportionate in its nature, because the underlying material on the basis of which the ban was imposed was disproportionate. But if you look at the entire jurisprudence that the Supreme Court has now clearly laid down, RBI, of course, will be the final decision maker on all aspects of currency. It might sound very obvious to some here, but it is a principle that has been now very clearly called out in a two-judge Supreme Court decision on crypto. Now, when you take that as a bedrock, and if you look at the recent legislation that had been tabled a year back, which actually sought to ban crypto, to now, where we absolutely welcome what the Honorable Prime Minister has said yesterday, that the time has come to regulate it. Now, if you look at globally, most countries are struggling with a similar conundrum. And this is at a time when, if you look at global investment in cryptocurrency, that's almost touched $2 trillion. Gold is somewhere about $8 trillion. So, you're looking at crypto sort of gaining a huge share. And globally, jurisdictions are struggling with this issue. I think time is now ripe, and I'm so welcome what the Honorable Prime Minister said yesterday, as well as the RBI and the views coming in from SEBI, is that, look, we will obviously not accept this as a legal tender. And I don't think globally you will see any, barring some examples of certain countries in Southern America, most nations will continue to exercise their sovereign right for in issuing currency. I don't think any nation will give up that right. But certainly now that there has been so much of investment that's come in, regulation is the way to go. It will get characterized as any other asset class, just like how art is an asset class. There are SEBI AIF regulations for specific investments in art as a form of investment. Similarly, I do believe that there will be a strong regulatory framework that RBI will propose in consultation with the Ministry of Finance. I think there will be strong KYC and anti-money laundering rules tied into it. What will also be very important is, as Mr. Gopal Krishna Agarwal said, it's very important to take care of the interest of the small public, small investors and the public. What is happening is a lot of fly-by-night operators are right now involved in this industry because of the kind of immense returns that it's thrown out. What's very important is to have effective regulation. But my only sort of word of caution, Tarun, is that often when government and regulators go about regulation, sometimes they throw the baby out of the bathwater. And in fact, it happens more times than not. So I think what is very important is to consult the industry stakeholders, to consult various exchanges, to pick up areas of abuse, to pick up areas where there are problems and try and tackle them in a way that you don't throw the baby out of the bathwater. It is a global asset that you cannot ignore, but at the same time have strong regulatory measures. And certainly, I think all our clients are also looking forward to that regulatory measure. If you look at all the big tech companies, whether it's Facebook, whether it's some of the other companies, they're already flirting with the idea of having their own currency, a virtual one at that. So I think the whole notion that perhaps it will replace as a legal tender, I think those debates, are far and out. Countries will continue exercising their sovereign power. But I think as an asset class, this will continue to be in vogue. Fun fact, Tarun, if you look at the provisions of Foreign Exchange Management Act and the rules framed thereunder, resident Indians investing in global cryptocurrency is still not permissible, using out of the $250,000 liberalized remittance scheme, but it still happens. The point that I'm therefore trying to make to you is that strong enforcement mechanism will also be necessary. You can come up with as many detailed rules around crypto, but if they don't get enforced on ground, then little would be achieved. So I think both having a good framework as well as having a proper enforcement mechanism will be the need of the hour.
Okay. Thank you so much for those inputs, Mr. Vaibhav Kakkad. We are actually out of time. We will do a part 2 on this very interesting topic when the bill is presented before the Parliament in the winter session, which I think Mr. Gopal Agarwal had to make a small comment and then we end the show.
Yeah, I just want to clarify one point. Is the blockchain technology, there can be a audit trail. The issue, because it is a distributed ledger technology, no single party can alter the transaction, but you can have the audit trail. So if cryptocurrency is using blockchain technology, you can regulate and control it. The thing about other things are only thing difference is that there is no central clearing agency in this. So this issue just I wanted to mention for just clarification on this.
Thanks for sharing this with us. So winter session of Parliament it is. We will do a 2-part series to clarify what the bill is to all our viewers. A lot of young educated Indians are actually investing in this asset class, and the number, I must say, is growing every day. As I said when we started the show, 45,000 crores already invested. This is what we know of. It may be more. So it involves all of us. I would like to thank Mr. Rajneesh Kumar, Mr. Gopal Krishna Agarwal, Mr. Gagan Kumar, Mr. Vaibhav Kakkad for taking our time at a really short notice and joining us for this special show. Thank you so much, viewers, for watching this. Thank you.
Yeah, only thing, Tarun, only one small comment. Let us not use the word currency around it. It is crypto. That's all.
Noted. Thank you. Thank you, sir.
For more such videos, subscribe to the NewsX YouTube channel, hit the bell icon.